I'm standing here in Washington, D.C., not far from where President Obama and congressional leaders are continuing to negotiate the budget situation, trying to avoid the situation that will occur on August 2nd if the debt ceiling is not raised. Let's look at some recent data. July 7 through 10 were the dates of interviewing that tell us where the public stands on the issue. Neither Obama nor the Republicans seem to have an advantage in general on this issue when we ask Americans, whom do you trust to handle it, either Obama or the Republican leaders? You see the numbers in front of you there, roughly a tie. Republicans a couple of points higher than Obama, but statistically it's roughly a tie, so we can't give the edge either to Obama or the Republican leaders on that issue. Some other points. Americans don't like the sound of raising the debt ceiling. Now, this is important. This question does not try to explain the rationale or reasons for raising the debt ceiling or not raising it. We simply say, do you like it or not? Should it be raised or not? And here we find by almost a 2-to-1 margin, Americans with an opinion say no, it shouldn't be raised rather than raised. Although to be sure, as you can see there, over a third of Americans say they don't have an opinion. Now, is this simply based on ignorance? Well, I don't think so, because we separated out those Americans who were paying close attention to these whole negotiations that are going on here. And among them, we still found a 16-point margin saying don't raise the debt ceiling versus raise it. So again, Americans simply don't like the idea of raising the debt ceiling, at least in the abstract. Second point, Americans are more worried about the consequences of raising the debt ceiling if it does not have spending cuts along with it than they are what would happen if the debt ceiling is not raised and an economic crisis ensues. That's important. You see the wording of that question in front of you there, but that's where the worry is, and that actually favors the Republican side, at least as phrased in this question. Finally, we ask Americans straight out, would you tilt towards favoring fixing the deficit by cutting spending or by raising taxes? And look at those numbers. Half of Americans say they favor cutting spending. Another third say both about equally, and only 11% say they favor it by raising taxes. So here again, we find a psychological sentiment on the part of the average American that cutting spending is the way to go. That's the latest as we continue to measure Americans' views on what's happening here in Washington as these debt negotiations continue. I'm Dr. Frank Newport, Gallup's Editor-in-Chief. I'm Frank Newport, Gallup Editor-in-Chief.
I'm Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief of USA Today.
And every Tuesday on Election Matters, we'll be looking at election 2012 from the perspective of the American people as measured by polls.
And we'll be relating it to what we hear out on the trail.
That's Election Matters every Tuesday at Gallup.com and USAtoday.com.